Well, the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, has suggested the EU is acting like a dictatorship after it threatened to stop vaccine exports to the UK.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the EU would use whatever tool necessary to ensure Europe got its fair share of the jabs. Well, is it right for the EU to put its citizens first when it comes to vaccines?
Joining us now, former Conservative Minister Anne Widdecombe and the founder of Scientists for the EU, Dr Mike Galsworthy, and the Chair of Global Public Health at the University of Edinburgh, Professor Devi Sridhar. Anne Widdecombe, when you heard Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the EU, which itself has got a pretty stuttering vaccine programme and isn't using all of its AstraZeneca vaccines, saying is now going to threaten to stop exports of vaccines to us with a successful vaccination programme, what was your first reaction?
Well, my first reaction was thank heavens for Brexit. But my second reaction was this. They are now in a panic because they've made a complete mess of vaccine procurement. If you think back to the early days when we were simply approving the vaccines, ordering them, just getting on with it, the EU was dragging its feet, was condemning us for being too precipitate. Then our vaccine programme started to roll. And the EU actually at one point tried to close the Irish border without even talking to the Irish Prime Minister. So it's gone on. Recently, they've criticised the AstraZeneca for not being suitable for the over 65s, didn't use it, then changed their minds. Now they've got millions sitting round in fridges because they're afraid of blood clots. They've messed the whole thing up from start to finish. They've let their own citizens down. And I'm very sorry for those citizens, but Ursula von der Leyen is the cause, and she is a donkey of a politician, quite honestly.
That's quite a description. And Mike Galsworthy, you're co-founder of Scientists for the EU. Look, there might be a lot of people who completely disagree with Anne Widdecombe about Brexit, but might also think, why is the EU making this political, and why have they made such a mess of it?
Well, there are various issues here. For a start, if you listen to what Ursula von der Leyen said, she said that the EU have now exported some 41 million vaccines around the world. That is phenomenal. The US is exporting nothing, but the EU has exported 41 million. They've used about 45 million. We've used about 25 million. So what they're saying is, given that they're such big exporters around the world, and we're not doing anything. Hong Kong, we love Hong Kong. What have we sent them? Nada. What have the EU sent them? 1.3 million vaccines. Canada, part of the Commonwealth. What have we sent them? Nothing. What have the US sent them? Nothing. What have the EU sent them? About 4 million vaccines.
But meanwhile,
so
Dr. Galsworthy,
we are a powerhouse putting out all these vaccinations. Yes, you know, their own within Europe programme is slow,
yes,
but they're trying to juggle.
Not only slow, Dr. Galsworthy, but where there are regulators who are saying, for instance, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is safe, 17 EU countries have suspended use of it. So they have a whole load of millions of vaccines themselves that they're not even using.
Yeah, and the EU Medicines Agency has said use them. So the first countries with this blood clot stuff were Norway, Iceland and Denmark. And Norway and Iceland are outside the EU, and they panicked about some of their
countries
batteries.
within the EU have now gone on to not use it.
Go ahead and use them. The World Health Organization said go ahead and use them. And so the EU has actually been pushing for them to use them. I mean, these are decisions that individual countries are making, both in Europe, but also you've got Thailand, you've got the Philippines, you've got Venezuela.
But Dr. Galsworthy, you talk about the numbers that are being exported from the EU. Those amounts and the deals that were struck when people wanted to order from the EU, that was struck because the EU felt it was a good thing to strike them. Suddenly now, because the vaccine programme isn't working out for them internally, they're now saying, oh, hang on, we might change those deals. That does feel unfair, doesn't it? Because people have planned their vaccination programmes based on what the EU said was right.
Well, I mean, the UK is at the moment fairly guilty of gold-plated vaccine nationalism because we're manufacturing it and have exported nothing to anyone that needs it. Similarly, in the States, they've exported nothing to anyone that needs it. Even Mexico has been begging twice to have from them the AstraZeneca vaccine that they have manufactured but aren't using because the states haven't approved it yet. So the EU is the powerhouse of the world in vaccine exports. And what it's saying to the UK is that you're sitting on a little island and you're producing your own and you're getting from us. I mean, 1 in 3 people in the UK who've had that vaccine jab in their arm, that is EU-built stuff that has been delivered with love to them.
Right.
And the EU is saying, can you help out, please?
Yeah.
Can you be responsible?
Anne, let's put that to Anne Widdecombe.
Because if not, then we'll behave like the US and we'll behave like you. And we'll start closing down.
Anne Widdecombe,
which I think is perfectly reasonable.
the EU is actually doing good things and it just wants to share the load.
Hardly. I mean, the EU, as I said, and I set out the scenario earlier, the EU has made a complete mess of this. Now, it's possible to be perfectly pro-EU and at the same time to admit that this is something that they have got wrong. And so now their response to that is a panic and to say, OK, we're going to cancel our agreements, which were lawfully agreed. We're going to cancel agreements. We're going to cancel exports. We're going to row back on all of that because we, the EU, have made a complete mess of it. And I am sorry for their citizens. I really am. And I said that right at the start. I actually said I'm sorry for EU citizens because they're getting this wrong. Now they want everybody else to pay for the fact that they've got it wrong.
OK, well, look, Debbie, you're chair of global... Sorry, Susanna. Chair of Global Public Health. I mean, we've got to resolve this problem, haven't we? Whatever side of the political fence you're sitting on, whichever country you're fighting for, globally, we've got to sort this out.
Yeah, and there's 2 really crucial things here. The first is the way we get out of these restrictions is going to be through stopping the number of people who can become infected and stopping our hospitalizations. And that is through vaccines. Vaccines are going to do the heavy lifting for us to make it through. And that's for every country, as we're seeing. But the problem is if we just worry about what's happening here, there are variants. We have learned AstraZeneca has limited effectiveness against mild to moderate infection of the South African variant, which means if we're just focused here, there's other stuff happening not only in Europe, but in South Africa, in Brazil, in Mexico, that we are just turning a blind eye to. So it's a really tricky decision of how do we lift restrictions here, vaccinate through our age groups, and we need to get down to those younger age groups. We need to have about 85 to 90% of the population vaccinated to really get to this kind of natural population, the population immunity point. But at the same time, we do need to be globally engaged right now because just worrying about what's happening here, it's going to come back and bite us.